Alright guys, so you're welcome back to Orange Studios. Now I was on Pinterest trying to find out some ideas on what to teach next since it's Vals Day, right? Then I found this on Pinterest. Very interesting. Simple and straightforward. But guess what? When I was trying to gather the resources to get you to understand how things like this are done, I ended up finding out everything on this artwork is available for free download. And so I'm going to discuss how to go about this in this tutorial. Then in the next tutorial, I'll probably teach how or explain how you can find resource files. Right. But for now, you just get a tip on how to get them. So let's move back in here. So you realize this right here is the same thing right here. And this right here is almost the same thing somewhere there. Maybe it's not in here, but definitely this emoji and that emoji and this emoji is the same as this and that. So if you pay attention, you realize that the name of the emoji here or the icon here is pngwing.com. So that is where you can find some free resource files, png files. All right, so pngwing.com, that's where you can find most of these files. So fortunately for us, I didn't have to go through the hassle of doing a 3D render of this because it's already available. So maybe another time we'll look at how to do that in Cinema 4D. So the next thing we are going to do is simple. Let's just create a background here. So we, like I said, you can either create it by using the shape tool. All right, like I've been saying in the past, let me put it that way. If you're new to the channel, you can either create it by using the shape tool or you move over here to layers. So you can have everything seen. You can see what's happening. That's why you move to layers. You don't need to move here. Where you need to go is this side. All right. So click on this and click on that solid color. All right. So there you have it. Let me activate this so we can see the mouse. All right. So yeah, it's activated. So you can just do this and then you have a solid color. All right. So same thing. All works the same, just one has an advantage over the other. So this one in particular can be moved around, and then this one in particular you can't move it. It's an infinite fill, so you understand. All right, so let's move over here. Now let's try and move back here and see what's happening. So let's zoom in. All right, so basically the guy who did this, I wish I knew the artist so we can give them props. All right, so if you pay attention to the background, you see there's a darker shade somewhere there, there's a light shade, there are some hearts emojis in there. We'll try and fix all of that. All right, so to do this, what we need to do is to pick an image. All right, so let's go with this. Alright, so this is what we have. We are trying to create this kind of a background. Let me zoom in once again to the side. Alright, so we are trying to have this kind of a gradient background. Forget the halftone. Alright, the dots you see in there, and then the heart you see in there. We'll do that later. Alright, so let's move back here. Now let's zoom in to this. Alright, so with this done, we're just going to change the blend modes from normal to say multiply or any other blend modes that work, but in this case, multiply works. Alright, then we are going to add a filter. So you move over to filter, to blur, Gaussian blur. You add some amount of blur. 78 is cool. In this case, you can even add more. Alright, so let's hit on OK. Now we are going to reduce the opacity after this is done. So let's reduce the opacity to say 40-ish there. So you realize that we have similar effects like the dark space we saw in there. All right, so let's take it back. Now, what next do we observe in here? So the thing we observe next is the emojis. So let's add the emojis to it. So we are going to pick and drop the emojis. Alright, so with that, we are now going to apply Gaussian blurs to it. So we are selecting them make them as huge as possible. And you have to bear in mind our reference. Alright. Now the main thing with graphic design is developing the concept. Once you have the concept done, like we already have the concept shown to us, then it's easy to execute. So one of the things we'll be discussing in the near future is how to get concept for your designs, how to generate your concept. And if you like this idea, hit the like button or comment generate ideas, and we'll see what we do about that. All right, so let's get these down. This is fine. All right, so now we're going to do for one, then we just skip the rest. All right, so how do we apply the Gaussian blur? Select, and let me work with this. All right, so if you pay attention to this right here, it's not a smart object. How do I know? Because pay attention to the thumbnail. You see there's a small one down here that shows that it's a smart object. This one is a raster image. All right, so you probably want to convert it to a smart object. So right click anywhere here, you have this popping up, convert to a smart object. Now it's like that. The reason is that so you can always change your effect when they are applied. All right, you can, without that you can't edit your effect. All right, so let's move over here and then apply a Gaussian blur. You will understand. So let's say this is what we want to do. All right, let's see, this is what we want to do. All right, now with this done, I can edit the effect here. So because I have these options down here, so you just double click and you can edit. But let's apply it to this without the Gaussian blur, or without converting a smart object. Move over to filter, blur, excuse me, Gaussian blur. Now once you have the Gaussian blur apply, you realize that you can't do anything about it. It's fixed, like it's done. The only thing you can do is Ctrl Z to undo. So let's do that. Ctrl Z to undo. Then we move back here. Alright. So let's move back here. Sorry. Move back here. Right click, convert to smart object. And then you can now apply the filter, which is blur. We want to apply the blur effect. So Gaussian blur is what we apply. And there we have it. So Control T to bring out transform. Yes. So we increase it a little. Probably change the orientation just a little bit. Hit on enter to have it applied. Then we are going to do the same for the rest. Alright, so we have our emojis displayed right here. Alright, so what do you think will be the next thing to do? Whatever you are thinking is right, but let's tackle the hats we have in there as part of the background. So let's zoom in, and I'm going to use the pen tool, which is the easiest tool I'm sure everyone should have. Alright, so just follow along. See, I'm just pulling the guidelines, and if you don't have this showing, the shortcut key is Ctrl R to bring out the guidelines. Alright, so you can drag them this way. Now what I'm basically going to do is just trying to give myself a guide this way. Right, I don't need to do this side because I just want to do one side. Right, so like this. Then I'm going to use the pen tool. I'm picking a point here, right, like that. Then I'll pick a point here and drag like that. Then I'll probably hit another point here and drag. Alright, so with this, I'm just going to press and hold the Alt key, take my pen to somewhere here, and then hit to cut. And I'll close it down by hitting this point. Alright, so I have this. Now I'm going to click on this to create a shape. Alright, so let me change the color so you can all see. So this is what we have. Alright, let's take it above. We are still working on the background. So with this done, I'm just going to Control C or Control J to duplicate. Then I'm going to flip it. So let's move over to Edit, Transform, and flip horizontally. So let's take it this way. Alright, now we can take off all our guides. Alright, so this is what we have. Okay, so this, we are going to now take the two and then merge them. All right, so merge shapes. All right, so merge shapes right there. Yes, you have this in here. So if we don't want to have this overlap because we merged the shape, let's just undo and then convert to a smart object. Simple. And then with this, we are going to now double click on the side. The reference point is hollow, so we are going to take out the fill. So the fill, all right, and add a stroke. Then the stroke, you can choose whatever color you want to use, but this is fine. All right, so let's hit on OK. Then Control T to bring a transform. All right, then let's reduce it. So with this, we can now create a lot of patterns with this and spread it across. All right, so to create a pattern, all right, we've already created our shape. But guess what? I already have my pattern created here. So once I click on pattern right here, I have this option right here to select because I've already created my pattern out of the hat. All right, so let me just say OK, click on OK. All right, and then I'm going to reduce the opacity just a little. All right, like this. I'm going to convert to a smart object so that I can transform. All right, so Control T to bring a transform. Then I'm going to increase the size, take it somewhere here. All right, so this is it. But the question is, how did I do this? All right, so let's take it all over again. So to create the pattern, I have this shape right here. So let me start all over. So Control N. All right, so I'm going to use, let's say, same size. So let's say 847, right? And then create. Then I'm going to drag our image right here. Not that one. This particular one here, the hat, which is this layer. Drag it over here. Now to help me see what I'm doing, I'm going to just apply a color overlay. All right, so color overlay. Nope. Let's first convert this to a smart object, right? So like that. Then I can now apply color overlay. All right. All right. So now we can turn this off. So with this, I'm just going to duplicate this. All right. Control J to duplicate. Then I'm going to move it around. All right, so with this, I'm just going to select all of this and then merge the layers. But I prefer to restore the sharpness, so I'll rather convert all of them to a smart object. All right, so all of this is a smart object now. And then I'll now move over to edit, define pattern, then I'm going to name the pattern. So let's say hat, HEARTS. All right, so like this, then it's done. All right, so now when I move over here and then I turn this off, all right, then come over here, click pattern. There are several options to choose from. So there's the hats, which I just created, and then there's this one. So you just click on this and have it applied. So it's that simple. All right, so that's it with the hat, right? So we can reduce the opacity if we wanted to make it further light. All right, let's stick to this. All right, so what do you think the next thing will be? Looking at our image. So what we are going to do is now drag and drop our picture in there. All right, so I'm going to do that right now. All right, so to save us time, I've already made a selection of the hair, and if you want to know how to do this, you can check this video right here to learn how to do that. So let's drag and drop into our page. So Control T to bring out transform. We're going to increase this just a little bit more. All right. Let's pay attention to the space here because we'll be putting some info there. Hit enter. Then let's first of all select all of this, right? And then put them in a group. So you can click on this right here. put them in a group, then double click, and then we are going to call it the background. All right, so with the background set, let's even put a lock on it. Then we are now going to select this image mode, adjustment, then black and white. Simple, we are done. You can always adjust how black you want it. Blue filter, you can always high contrast. Check the ones that work perfectly for your image. All right, so but I'm going to keep my default like this, and that's fine. We also realized there was a stroke around the image, right? So we are going to apply some stroke. Yes, we are not having a perfect because of some of the edges here, but there's always a way around it, right? So let's go about that. So to do this, it's going to take a time, but I'll speed it up. I'm going to use the pen to draw a shape around them. All right. So let's try this. Or I can just hit on OK. No, let's go back here and then increase the size. All right. The issue with this is that we have some spillovers here, so we just apply layer max, hit B to bring out the brush tool, then we erase. So we are erasing the undo. Make sure you don't erase the hair, the spillovers. That's all we are going to try to erase. All right, so with this we can now go back to the stroke. All right, and of course I'm going to reduce the opacity like this, shouldn't be too loud because of our reference, but even if it's loud, there's nothing wrong with it anyway, so let's just step it down and let it up. All right, so this is fine. The next thing you are probably going to see is the fact that there was some form of light on the face, right? Yeah, so we are going to do that, all of that. So let's come back here, and then we can even kind of let's create a new layer. Hit B to bring out the brush tool. All right, increase the size of the brush. You should make sure the mode is set to normal, but the mode for the layer, the mode for the brush is set to normal, but the mode for the layer should be screen. All right, then we are going to pick a color somewhere here. So press and hold the Alt key. Let's pick any random color. Then we hit. So you realize that there's some form of light thrown over the image. All right, so you can adjust the flow of the brush. So let's even reduce it. So this effect right here. Now let's zoom in and see what we've done. All right, so like you can see, I just added some effects on the image. So let's see. Let's zoom in so we can have a look. All right, so that's it. So the before and after the effect. All right, so if you want to know how to do this, check out this video. I did a brief of that in the video. All right, next we are going to drop our image in here. Now you see there was this big love behind the couple, so we are going to do that. So let me just pick and drop them. Right, so the next thing is the ripped paper effect here. So I'm going to pick that paper and drop it here. Then we see what we can do with that. All right, so I have my ripped paper in here. So I'm going to stretch, Control T to bring a transform. I'm going to stretch it to fill the page. All right, like this. And remember there was something like a theme right here. So Control T, hit T to bring up the text tool. Then you type out theme. All right, we choose a font that works with this. So let's change the color to white. Right, and let's go for a font that works, the rounded one like that. Then go for something thicker. Rounded one because the love text has rounded edge, so let's just match it up with this. Right, so drop this here. So there's the theme, like we see in our reference artwork. There's also something reddish up here that held an information. So we are going to duplicate this, Control T, and then reduce it. Alright. Like this. Okay, and then we're going to change the color overlay, make it red. Yes, this is okay. It stands out a little bit. Then obviously we are going to change this one too and make it white. All white. Yeah, so color overlay. Make it all white. Now with this, I mean, we are literally good to go. Alright. We are almost done with duplicating or replicating the design we saw. Alright. So to save time, I've just dropped in the information and it's this simple, right? So we are going to move on to much more relevant things, right? So just drop in the info. It's not difficult to do. So moving on will be the final thing we are going to do, and that is to just add some halftone effects. So let's zoom in right here. All right, so you see this dotted effect you see scattered around this image. All right, that's what we are going to try to create. So let's just jump into it. So what you're going to do is to create a shape, all right, like this. And what I have learned to do is to always keep the foreground color black if I wanted it. So for instance, if I'm changing this to, let's say, orange, all right, and then I move over to filter gallery, and I'm supposed to apply the undo. I filter gallery, convert to smart object. All right, so you see the dotted lines, which is the half tone we actually looking for, is applied here. So the options are here. So we are going to look for half tone and do. All right, so the orange is applied. So to avoid that, because I'm looking for a black and white halftone effect, if you wanted any other color, you could go for that. All right, but I want a black and white one. So I'll just move over here, make it black, and then I would now move out to gallery here. So of course, convert to smart object. Then the halftone effect is applied. So it's under sketch, right? So sketch, there are options here, which is the halftone. And then if you can't find it, you can always come to this side, and then you have options to pick from, which is halftone. Then you can adjust the size as you'd want, the contrast as you'd want, and all of that. So let's keep the contrast high, so it's strictly black and white. Let's play around with the size a little, right? This should be okay. Hit OK, and you have it applied. Probably you are not seeing the essence as of now, alright? But let's zoom out and then change the blend mode from normal to say overlay. Then let's zoom in, then you see the effect, alright? So we can have that effect applied this way. So basically that's how you go about doing the halftone effect. So let's zoom in and see what other blend modes will give us. So let's say soft light, let's say screen, all right, let's say multiply. All right, you know what multiply does? It knocks out the highlight and maintains the shadows. All right, so let's say this, that. All right, so there are several options you can play with depending on how you want it to come out. So let's stick with this. Then we can now reduce the opacity just a little bit. Then let's zoom out and see the effect we have. All right, so that's what we have. Let's increase this so it stands out a little bit more. All right, so this is what we have, and that's how far we've come with the tutorial. At least I know you've learned two things for sure. You've learned how to create this halftone printer effect, and you've learned where to get resource files. I mean, PNG, gives you that options, right? PNG Wing, pngwing.com gives you that option. You've also learned that you can, create some patterns with the hats. At least these are 3 things I know you've learned. So see you and catch you in the next episode. Charlie, subscribe and spread the gospel according to Orange Studios. Catch you next time. Okay, so there we go. This brings us to the end of today's tutorial. I hope it was very helpful. If it was, don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you are not already subscribed to this channel. And if you have any question, kindly leave that in the comment section and I'll respond.